The residents and businesses in parts of Johannesburg continue to experience dry taps for a third week now. The businesses counting the loss as the continued water outage affected their operations during the long weekend. The city of Johannesburg and Rand Water are blaming the latest round of outages on the leak, or should we say a leak, at the Honeydew Reservoir. To help us understand the extent of this interruption, particularly on businesses, we're joined by Kganki Matabane. He's from the Black Business Council, the CEO of that organization. Mr. Matabane, good evening to you, and thank you for your time. If it's not load shedding, it's water outages. How are businesses coping in such an environment?
Good evening, Gullian, and the Newzroom Afrika viewers. And thank you very much for having us. And as you know, and all of us know that water is life, and without water, there's not much you can do. When you are in a business, you need water, especially depending on the types of business you are running. Mainly small businesses. If we look, for example, people who are running restaurants, hair salons, and so on, they need water. Without water, then the business won't be able to run. And the challenge is that even those who've got the tanks can only last for like 2, 3, 4 days, depending on how you use it.
Yeah.
And after that, then you have to find water somewhere. So it's a very, very serious concern. Small businesses also, again, they are always disadvantaged when we've got challenges like this, because they cannot afford even to buy those water storage systems. But also they can't even afford to say people must work from home, because at least some of the big businesses, what they do, they then say you can work from home because there's no water in the office. So that's the challenge that we are facing, and we hope it will be resolved quicker. But we know the challenges with the coalition governments. They are always this one blaming that one and that one blaming that one, and we're not necessarily getting anywhere. Yeah.
Adding to this pain is the increase in the cost of municipal services. You add to that the electricity tariffs that have come into effect today. You have the ear of government as the Black Business Council, Mr. Matabane. How do they justify their claims of economic recovery versus their realities that you and I are talking about now on the ground, especially for small businesses?
Yeah. When it comes to the increase of electricity, I think there's a process that is done through NESA. Almost every year it happens where people go there and make inputs. So if there's a blame, I think the blame should go to NESA, because they are the ones who then regulate this. So if they deem it fit that you must have an increase, which we think is unreasonable, the salary increases and income increases for individuals, for example, has been hovering around 5%. I saw government is going to increase by 4.7%, but the increases for electricity is around 12.something%.
Yeah.
So you can imagine if you are running a business now, also you're going to be under pressure to find ways to increase, almost in a compensatory way, to increase the salaries of employees, to try and make sure that they keep on inflation. So the challenge, I think, is that as long as our economy is not growing, we're going to have all these problems, because when you're running a business, it doesn't make enough revenue, the costs are increasing. What do you do?
Yeah.
The only thing that you have to do is to look at retrenching people, and can we afford retrenching people in this environment where almost half of the people who are supposed to be working are unemployed.
Exactly.
It's a catch-22 type of a situation. But
So,
we are working on the issues.
Yeah. I want to ask this question, Mr. Matabane. Perhaps let me refine it this way. You've mentioned the performance of the economy, and that performance is measured in part through small businesses who government itself is the first to say they are one of the primary absorbers of people who do not have employment. These are small businesses. And so, if there is going to be a claim that the country is recovering economically coming out of COVID and all of the challenges that come with either electricity or water, should we believe the story that says South Africa's economy is pumping?
Yeah, I think it's important to be fact-based. So if you look at the economic growth for last year, it is hovering around 1%. And that tells you that the economy is not going to be struggling. Because if you are growing at 1%, you are basically not even breaking even from economic growth point of view, from even jobs point of view. So the data that is there that we have, it does not show government supporting small businesses. And we've raised this many times that the National Development Plan 2030 has basically said we need to focus on supporting small business, but we don't see that support on the ground, because if we were seeing it, we won't be seeing a lot of small businesses closing down. We will be seeing a lot of small businesses starting up and then growing to be medium-sized businesses. Because to your point, the small businesses, the entry level for unemployed people is a little bit lower. So it's easier for small businesses to absorb people who are unemployed. And then this is basically what we are also focusing on, to say, if we are in the crisis that we are in, we need to then utilize the very same energy that we are utilizing to pay grants and to make sure that there's a basic income grant and all those type of things, to also focus the same energy in supporting small business, especially with funding.
Yeah.
Because without funding, you can't basically do anything. So for us, even if you take half of what you are giving out for grants and give it to small businesses, it will go a long way. Because remember, the money that you take for grants is expenses. You never recover it. But if you take half of it and support small businesses, even if you lose half of it, you can still, with the other half, you can still be able to recover it, because then there will be jobs, those people will pay tax, that companies will grow, they also pay tax, and they'll also support the economy by consuming what is producing the economy. So we are pleading again and calling on government to say, the very same energy that we have in supporting grants, let's use it to support small business.
Well, with those words, it is clear then that there isn't enough support from government, particularly from the Department of Small Business, to support these small and medium enterprises. Let me conclude with this question, and it is a political one. On the 29th of May, the citizens of this country are going to go and choose a political party, or indeed an independent candidate whom they believe is going to change the situation on the ground. When it comes to businesses, who do you consider fit and capable of running government services efficiently as the BBC?
Yes, but I think maybe before I answer that, the challenges of small business are not necessarily supposed to be left to small business department. they are supposed to be left, they're supposed to be the responsibilities of government in general, because, for example, the funding is supposed to come from the PIC, the IDC, and other government-related funding institutions. So it's not necessarily the job of the only of the small business development. I think they are trying their best, but they don't have the resources in terms of funds. So the funds should come from somewhere as part of the state. As far as the elections are concerned, I think we are not in the business of politics, so we wish all the participants well, and we hope whoever gets elected will prioritize the unemployment that we have, whereby you have only around 7 million people who are actually paying tax, carrying the entire economy. Mm-hmm. So it's important that we prioritize the increase in that tax base in South Africa, but supporting small businesses, supporting industrialization, because if you look, I'm sure if you're walking around in Durban, Johannesburg, you see people are building a lot of warehouses. So we're becoming a consumer-based economy where we're not producing things here. We take them from China and other countries, and then we distribute them. So we're becoming, instead of reindustrializing, we're becoming almost like a post office of some sort, where we get things from other countries, meaning we're creating jobs in other countries. So for us, I think those are supposed to be focus areas into the economic transformation, because you cannot have 8 years down the line we've got almost 92% of the population only owning 5% of the economy. That is not sustainable.
I take it that is your reflection on the 30 years of democratic rule in South Africa, that the government of the day has almost become a post office where you just get services, but you don't create anything.
Yeah, we have to change that, because if you don't, we are going to increase the rate of unemployment that we have, and then you were around when the 2021 riots happened. We don't want to get into that situation, but if the majority of the people are unemployed, they've got nothing to lose. They are just waiting for someone to say, let's do this, and then they will join. So it's important that we are supporting, we need to support small business with funding, not because we just want to spend money, but because we want to reduce unemployment. And you can only reduce it by expanding the economy through supporting and funding small businesses.
All right. Kganki Matabane, CEO of the Black Business Council, thank you very much for your time.